Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it, and thank you, Dr. Williams, for all you do. The United States is blessed with very abundant energy and mineral resources, but we can't get at them unless we know and have them fully identified and mapped. And that better geological mapping gives us the certainty to make better land use decisions and energy and mineral development decisions. Sanborn Mapping Company, which is in my district, is one of the prime contractors that USGS uses to fulfill its mapping requirements under several of the programs like 3DEP, 3DHP, and Earth MRI. They have the capacity to not only go out and get the data needed to better understand where our resources are, but to process the data. And one of the key tenets of USGS's mapping programs is that this data is publicly available. Can you share how much of the U.S. has been mapped under Earth MRI and what percentage of that data has been made publicly available?
Yes, so as I mentioned when we started, our foundational data collection of magnetic and radiometric data, we were started with coverage of the United States of 7%. We've increased that by more than a factor of 4, so we're getting up toward 30%. When we contract for a survey, the mobilization, the actual acquisition of the data takes a certain amount of time. It depends on weather, other schedules. And then when we get the data, our geophysicists have to work on the quality control and analysis before we can publish it. So there is a bit of a lag of a few months to sometimes many months from when the survey is completed to when the data are public. But all that data is in the pipeline. We just released, I believe it's 4 separate data sets just in the last few weeks. And we're working very hard at trying to accelerate that pace.
So from your answer, I've heard from stakeholders in the geospatial and mining industry that USGS faces resource constraints in processing the data in a timely manner. Do you agree with that statement?
Well, there always are limitations, but we're doing our best
Sure.
to meet those challenges.
Yeah, as this committee considers reauthorization of the Earth MRI program, I think it's important to find creative solutions to accelerate not only the data collection, but its processing timeline. And from your perspective, if Congress clarified that USGS has the authority to enter into agreements with companies like Sanborn to process Earth MRI data, would that lead to data being made available or used faster?
In some ways, yes. One of the things we've been looking at, for example, if you're what we call a potential field geophysicist, you get the raw data from the survey, you're in heaven, it's wonderful, you work with it. Many other, even geologists, don't necessarily know how to work with that kind of data. So there are derivative products you could get produced that help people who aren't experts work with that data. And we've been working with contractors to build in more of those derivative products as part of the contract so that we don't need to slow down that process of generating them ourselves.
Okay. And then finally, I submitted this question to the record for the Secretary because while I believe it's important that this data is made public, I do have concerns about adversaries' access to potentially sensitive data. So I want to ask you, as Interior expands efforts to map the United States resources with programs like Earth MRI, is it important that we both strengthen domestic technical capacity and safeguard sensitive geospatial information? How is USGS approaching contractor selection and data management to ensure Earth MRI supports US-based capabilities and protects the integrity of these strategic assets and data sets?
Thank you for the question. First and foremost, we are always careful to follow all the rules and laws and regulations about contracting and data collection. And one of the most important aspects is data integrity and making sure that until that data is ready to be released, it is not accidentally released or accidentally accessed. We're also focusing more than we did in the past on making sure there are no vulnerabilities to, say, having that data tampered with or have to worry about the chain of custody. But once we've got to a certain point, as has been mentioned here, we think it's very important to put it out in the public domain so it has the greatest value.
Great. Thank you, Doctor. Thanks for all you do. I appreciate it, and I yield back, Mr. Chairman.